We're still following the travails of the lawyer and human rights activist Inibehe Effiong, who was recently sent to a 1 month imprisonment for contempt by the Chief Judge of Akwa Ibom State, Justice Ekaite Obot. And with us to discuss this issue and shed more light and perspective on the ongoing travails of the lawyer, a citizen journalist and publisher of Cross River Watch and a human rights activist, Agba Jalingo. Welcome to Sahara TV, Agba.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Papa.
Agba, could you tell us at this point in time, I know you've been observing and covering much of the proceedings and the events surrounding the recent incarceration of Inibehe Effiong by the Chief Judge. At this point in time, what do we know? Or what is the situation of Inibehe?
Well, Inibehe is fine. He's always been a strong guy. His spirit is unbroken. He's fine where he is, regardless of the attempts by those keeping him in custody to break him. He has remained very strong as usual. And I know that he's fighting back to senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, who has filed a matter in the Federal High Court demanding the proceedings of the court. The Federal High Court, from where he was sent to prison, is a court of record. And Inibehe is reasonably demanding that the proceedings of the court should be made public. And I think the Chief Judge has brought out those proceedings sometime yesterday.
Yeah.
They appear very laughable, though, but
exactly.
That gives us the next point to begin from.
Talking about the recently released record of proceedings in the case, which some have actually alleged judicial malpractice. Talk us through, what's your view of those assertions by the Chief Judge and allegations raised against Inibehe of being in contempt of court? Your response, please.
Yeah, the thing is, the matter is sub judice now, but I will keep saying that there is no law in Nigeria that stops the recording of court proceedings. Okay. To the best of my knowledge, there is no law in Nigeria known to me that forbids or prevents anybody, whether as a private individual or as a professional journalist, from covering events that are going on within the court. I think it is out of respect for the judges and the fact that they determine these critical cases and for their security that people and common sense have come to a point where it has become a culture not to do it. And then every federal high court manned by a state chief judge has CCTV camera. I think it is also time for the lawyers to demand for the CCTV camera of what happened within that period from the office of Justice Ekaite, so that we can match what is in the camera with what was sent to the public yesterday. It's a good thing, and it's a good first step that they have given us the recorded incident, according to Justice Ekaite, and we will not be quick to dispute that. But she will need to go a little further with the same speed which she brought out these ones, because it is easy. It was very, very easy for her and very convenient for her to bring out this one. If Mike Ete is confident, she should also not hesitate to bring out the CCTV camera recordings of what happened on that day, so we can match it with what we saw on that affidavit. It will be very important that we move to that stage from where we are.
Part of the statements, made by the Chief Judge was by Mrs. Obot was that Mr. Mukwedo, who happens to be a premium time journalist who was on inside the court at that particular point in time, was actually doing a video recording of the court proceedings. And what do you say to that?
Like I said earlier on, I don't know of any law in Nigeria that forbids anybody from recording proceedings. I may be wrong, but I don't know of any. To the best of my knowledge, there is no law in Nigeria forbidding anybody. See, there are no saints on the bench. Judges are not angels from heaven. That is the truth of the matter. And the earlier we tell ourselves the truth, the better for us. They are human beings like us, with all the frailties that every one of us have. And if you see the manner in which judges are appointed in Nigeria today, which is mostly done through connections, political connections, who you know, at the magistrate level is even worse. Before now, when people like them, Justice Toby, Justice Oputa were in the bench, it was a deliberate effort by those who administer justice in Nigeria to beg some of the best lawyers in Nigeria at that time. They were actually begging them and appealing to them to come to the bench because they needed quality on the bench. They lived very stoic lives and were particularly unavailable to the public. Now we have all kinds of characters who know very well that they cannot do well in their legal practice, their legal practice. And so they find one way or the other through who they know and rise to the bench. Nobody should deceive us that these people are angels or saints. And the least we can do for the interest of justice as journalists is to continue to keep records of whatever they are doing in court. There are courts in America, we see where they do live videos. And if a particular lawyer, in the course of the proceeding, if a particular lawyer is not clear about a remark that was made, the judge will rewind. In open court, the judge will rewind so that you hear what the other lawyer, the other counsel said. Then you can now react to it. You are serving the public. There is nothing you are doing on that bench that is a secret. Sending a journalist out of the court for doing his job is something that I think it's high time we have to go and challenge. So I tell you something very important that happened during my own trial.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I can say now, because I've been discharged and acquitted, that Justice Amobeda kept lying repeatedly against me in court, that I had gang members and the members of my terrorist network had written him a letter threatening to kill him. He wrote to the Commissioner of Police and all the security agencies in Cross River State, and every time I was being taken to court, the entire court premises would be militarized. And I kept wondering what the matter was. But he kept claiming that he had the letter. Even when my own lawyers asked, my lord, can you bring the letter to court? Or send it to the police so that they will track these people. Until I was discharged and acquitted, Justice Amobeda is the only person that saw that letter. And when we said, off your hands off my case, like Amobeda
Exactly.
requested, Justice Amobeda wasn't ready to leave the case. And what I did was, I can say it now, underground, I requested my people and told them that from the way this matter is going, we need to bulk the courtroom. Since they will not allow us record it in open court, we need to bulk the courtroom and get his audio about what is happening. I suspect foul play. And that's exactly what we did. And that was the voice that came out the following day. It was on Sahara Reporters, it was on Premium Times, it was everywhere, where Amobeda was threatening me after driving everybody out of the courtroom, including my lawyers. He emptied the whole entire courtroom and said it was a secret trial, drove out the journalists, and told me clearly that my life is in his hands, that in the matter between Ken Saro-Wiwa and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Learned Counsel, Chief Gani Fayemi, walked out on the court, and Ken Saro-Wiwa was still sentenced to death. And Nigeria did not break and nothing happened. That if whatever happens to me here, nothing. He said all of that on tape. And that was what we now took to the NJC, requesting that they need to take me to another judge, to face another judge, so I can stand my trial. If I guess that it would have been a little more difficult for us if we did not get that evidence. So judges should stop thinking that they are angels. They are not angels. On that bench, they are serving the public, and it is not a secret job that they are doing for the public. It is a job that requires accountability from taxpayers who pay them their salaries. That was how they were hiding court cases and judgments until Chief Gani Fayemi went to court, up to the Supreme Court, and demanded that all judgments of the Supreme Court must be made public, because the moment those judgments are given, they are public documents, and the Supreme Court gave judgment to that effect. If it wasn't clear enough, we may need to go back and test the courts again, and let us see whether anybody has the right to take a journalist out of the courtroom where a public servant is rendering public service.
Let's also look at the political, angle to this issue, considering the fact that there were reports that just the Chief Judge Ekaite Obot had repeatedly threatened to jail Inibehe Effiong for his diligence in representing the two unknown clients who are against the two powerful men. For example, the governor who appointed her into office, and the senator who was alleged that without his influence, she probably may not also have been in office. Do you see a political, angle to this, to the travails, to these issues on ground, please?
You see, it's only if you are not abreast of the event in Akwa Ibom that you will not understand why the top echelon of the judiciary in Akwa Ibom, they are very, very irritated about the audacity of Inibehe. He's a very young man, about 5 years or so or more in the bar, but you cannot quantify his audacity. He has over a dozen cases of human rights violations against the incumbent Akwa Ibom State governor, and even the previous one. And he's been going from court to court, doing most of these cases pro bono, harassing government officials in that state who have formed the habit of taking advantage of people and breaking people's rights rampantly, which they are not comfortable with. Anytime they see him in court, they get irritated. They feel that he's arrogant. They feel that he is not your regular lawyer in court. No doubt there's politics inside the matter. The mama has, like you rightly identified, threatened repeatedly. That's an Honorable Justice Kaite, to send him to jail because of his frequent intervention during. But a lawyer goes to court to defend his client. A lawyer goes to court to defend his client. He's not going there to look at the face of the judge. Yes, there are rules that you must follow. But one thing that the public must realize is that if it becomes so easy for judges to throw our advocates into jail, how about those of us who stand in the dock? I've been going to court for about 21 years. I've been standing in the dock. And they will not allow you to speak from the dock. They will not allow you to speak. They only tell you to say guilty or not guilty, and you stand there. You have an advocate who is supposed to speak for you. If we have also entered that town where people who sit on the bench feel that they can throw the advocate as well into intimidation and into jail without anybody to defend you, then the cause of justice is certainly suffering an emergency that needs to be dealt with. The governor is angry with the establishment in Akwa Ibom. They are not happy with him. He's fighting them at all fronts. And you will expect that they will seek the intervention of the judges to see how they can deal with him. But the mistake they did, like the mistake that Governor Ade did with me, is that when they do these mistakes, thinking they want to intimidate us, when we come out more determined and more resolute. And that's exactly what they are going to get with Inibehe. It's that they prepare to send him repeatedly back to prison because he is not going to stop asking questions. I know Inibehe, he's not an arrogant person. He is not, he's not foolish. He's not stupid. You see him, he always challenge injustice, whether it's coming from the bench, whether it's coming from the executive, whether it's coming from anywhere, he will always stand up to challenge injustice. So I believe that it was that kind of occasion that called for that lawyer in him. And everybody should not think that people who come for change, they are not the same with others. When you come as a change, even as a journalist, I notice also that it's Inibehe's colleagues that have been bad-mouthing him everywhere, saying all kinds of things about his behavior in court. And my question truly is this: when you come for change, you usually don't behave the same with the rest. Reformers are not conformists. They come with a different strategy. That's what people said about Chief Gani Fawehinmi. He was also charged for contempt by Justice Ligali Ayorinde and sentenced to prison for 12 months. That decision was later overturned by the Court of Appeal. But he was in jail because everybody, at the point, the NBA barred all lawyers from going to defend him because they said his own was too much, until Alawa Kawashoro of blessed memory had to defy the NBA to go and defend him in court. These are agents of change. At the end of the day, I don't think that anybody even remembers Justice Ligali Ayorinde apart from that street that is named after him in Victoria Island. But every Nigerian, almost every Nigerian, will remember the name Gani Fawehinmi, not only now, but as long as this country continues to last. It's the same thing. It is the incarceration of Inibehe that will define the career of Justice Mike Aite on that seat. It is that action that he took with Inibehe that will define, make or mar her as a judge, not only in Akwa Ibom, but elsewhere, and whatever she will do with her future. But I don't think that anybody will be able to cow Inibehe. And for those who are bad-mouthing him, they should know that people who come for change like this, they blaze through the maze of life like stars. He is already destined to be greater than them, and history has already been written. They are not the same. So when you see him in the courtroom, just respect him. That is the truth. Forget the number of years you have spent in the bar. He's just a star that is meant to be great. And the earlier his colleagues recognize it and begin to pay that homage, the better.
Nigeria is currently sliding into an unprecedented anarchy and irrecoverable wreckage, considering the fact that both the executive and the legislative arms of government have utterly and woefully failed in protecting the interests of the citizens. How much damage is this Inibehe's conviction, how much damage has it subjected the legal profession to, in terms of ridicule and in terms of failure and crippling people's confidence in seeking legal representation?
Well, I've expressed that worry earlier that we must not, the civic space is shrinking generally all over the world, even in advanced democracies. Those who hold power are doing everything to use that power against those who gave them the power. But we must continually remind them through our actions that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. We must continually push back. We must not make it easy for those who are on the bench to throw our lawyers into the doldrum in the manner that they did to Inibehe, in the manner that was done to Chief Gani. Any one of them that tries it, we must not make it easy for them. Yes, we will always revert to trial because of our activities, but we must do everything as civil society, as members of even the legal profession who care about being progressive in this country, to make it very, very difficult, like the effort that Femi Falana is trying to do now, the LNSO, to push back and continually make it difficult for them to take this action. Because if what happened to Inibehe is not properly dealt with, more and more judges will begin to throw lawyers into jail in any way they like, and then everybody will just shout as the court pleases. No, it cannot always be as the court pleases. It cannot always be as the court pleases. Some of these actions must continually be challenged so that they will also know that once they remove those grounds, they're not angels. They are not angels. They are not angels. And they must listen to the voice of the people. And then secondly, I think also that this is an opportunity for us to continue to expand our jurisprudence. Everything that we need to do in court, this thing will lead to several court cases, I think. That may also open up new vistas, but for us as journalists as well, because we need to challenge that decision to drive a journalist out of the courtroom. What are you doing in the court? You are not holding a conference of judges. You are not holding a conference of learned people. It's an open court, like a playground in the village, where you are adjudicating over a matter. Why on earth will anybody tell a journalist not to go there and record? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? And that's something that we need to challenge. So I think that this is also an opportunity for us to expand our jurisprudence and also open up fresh vistas for not just legal practitioners, but even for those of us who are media practitioners.
Agbajalingo, thank you so much for your insightful perspective and analysis on this issue.